Picture this. It's 3 a.m. The city's asleep, but your mind isn't. There's an empty glass beside you, the glow of your phone screen, illuminating regrets you can't shake. You pick it up. You dial a number you swore you wouldn't. What if the most honest, most vulnerable moment from one of the biggest artists on the planet wasn't a carefully crafted hit, but an accidental confession? A raw nerve exposed, broadcast over a beat? We're talking about Drake, and we're talking about Marvin's Room. Released in 2011 on the album Take Care, Marvin's Room landed like nothing else on the radio. In an era of club bangers and polished pop R&B, this felt messy, unfiltered, painfully real. It became an instant cultural moment, a meme, an anthem for late-night regret. We've all heard it, maybe even quoted it after one too many. But what if we got it wrong? What if Marvin's Room isn't just about a drunk dial to an ex? But is the drunk dial itself a moment of profound weakness and toxic honesty that Drake never intended the world to dissect? What if those slurred words, the passive-aggressive digs, the desperate pleas weren't just lyrics, but fragments of a man losing himself in the echo chamber of his own fame and heartbreak? Tonight, we're not just listening to Marvin's Room. We're putting it under the microscope. We'll dissect the drunken voicemail that started it all, the lyrics that cut deeper than we realized, the real woman potentially on the other end of that line, the haunting production, and the lasting confession hidden beneath the surface. Because the truth behind Marvin's Room isn't just that Drake lost her, it's that in that moment, broadcast for the world to hear, he revealed he was losing himself. And maybe he never quite found that part again. Part 1. The night that sparked it all. The ghost in the studio. The track doesn't start with a beat drop or a catchy hook. It starts with awkwardness. A fumbling phone call, a woman's voice, distant, slightly confused. And then Drake. Hello? I'm just saying you could do better. Right there. That's the key. It's not I miss you. It's not I messed up. It's a criticism disguised as concern. You could do better? It immediately establishes the tone. Possessive, regretful, and dripping with an ego that can't handle being replaced. But where was this vulnerability captured? Not just any recording booth. This was recorded, at least in part, at the legendary Marvin's Room studio in Los Angeles. The same space where Marvin Gaye, decades earlier, poured his own raw pain, divorce settlements, and soulful agony into records like Here, My Dear. Think about that. Drake, an artist on the cusp of global superstardom, chose this hallowed ground, this vessel of heartbreak, to record his own messy, late-night confession. He wasn't just making a song, he was tapping into a lineage of profound, complicated male vulnerability. The studio itself becomes a character, a confessional booth haunted by the ghosts of past heartbreaks. It's more than just a name check, it's a deliberate framing. The room is a metaphor for his headspace, isolated, filled with the echoes of past intimacy, and steeped in the intoxicating, dangerous brew of nostalgia and regret. He's literally placing himself in the room, in the legacy of soul-bearing confession. Part 2. The lyrics that cut deeper than we knew. If the intro is the awkward fumble, the verses are the drunken spiral laid bare. Cups of the rosé, bitches in my old phone. I should call one and go home. I've been in this club too long. He sets the scene immediately. It's not glamorous, it's lonely. The club isn't fun, it's a place to escape, and it's failing. Talking about you could do better, tell me, have you heard that lately? There it is again, that line. It's the central axis around which the entire song pivots. It's aimed at her new relationship, a desperate attempt to plant seeds of doubt. But the repetition reveals something else. Maybe he's trying to convince himself. And then the infamous lines. I've had sex 4 times this week, I'll explain. Having conversations about you she don't understand. She's just not you. This isn't a brag, it's a shield. It's a clumsy, transparent attempt to project indifference, but it crumbles immediately. The I'll explain is telling. He knows it sounds hollow. He's trying to numb the pain with meaningless encounters, but they only amplify her absence. He's not seeking pleasure, he's seeking oblivion and failing. It's a confession of emptiness disguised as sexual prowess. What makes Marvin's Room so potent, so unsettling, is its lack of traditional song structure for redemption. There's no bridge where he sees the light, no final chorus of apology. It's a raw, rambling monologue. He's not asking for forgiveness, he's demanding attention. He wants to disrupt her peace, to prove he still occupies space in her head, even if it's negative space. This isn't a man trying to heal. This is a man picking at a scab, fascinated and horrified by the fact that it still bleeds. He's trapped in a loop of his own making, and he dragged us all in there with him. Part 3. The woman, the fallout, the silence. Behind every song like this, there's usually a muse, an inspiration. And with Marvin's Room, the speculation is always centered on one person: Nebby. Erica Lee initially sued, claiming to be the voice in the intro and co-writer settling out of court. But the emotional core, the target of Drake's late-night lament, is widely believed by fans and insiders to be Nebby Girma, his Toronto-based girlfriend from before the fame. The one referenced in earlier, more nostalgic tracks like Look What You've Done, and arguably the subject of the regret in Doing It Wrong. If it is Nebby, Marvin's Room takes on a darker dimension. This isn't just an ex. This is the woman who knew Aubrey Graham before he became Drake. The one who represented a life, a love, untainted by the pressures and distortions of global celebrity. I'm just saying you could do better. Hearing that line, directed potentially at her and her new partner, feels different. It's not just lingering heartbreak, it's the sting of a wounded ego. The man who achieved worldwide fame, who seemingly has everything, can't stand the thought of being replaced in the one area fame couldn't conquer: genuine connection. He didn't just walk away, he expects the person he left behind to remain frozen in time, waiting. It's a toxic display of possessiveness veiled as vulnerability. And the fallout? The song became a phenomenon. But the woman on the other end? Silence. Nebby, if it was her, never cashed in, never wrote a tell-all, never engaged publicly with the storm the song created. She simply moved on. That silence is perhaps the most powerful response. It leaves Drake's drunken words hanging in the air, unanswered. It underscores the futility of his plea. He poured his heart out, or perhaps just his ego, into the void, and the void didn't reply. The song ends without resolution, just the lingering hum of regret, and the implicit understanding that the call achieved nothing but exposing his own turmoil. Part 4. The confession hidden in the music. Let's talk about the sound of Marvin's Room. Produced by Noah 40 Shabib, the architect of Drake's signature underwater atmospheric sound, the music is as crucial as the lyrics. The beat is minimalist, almost hesitant. Muffled drums, deep sub-bass that feels more like a pressure in your chest than a rhythm, and those hazy, distant synth chords. It sounds like it's being heard through a wall or submerged underwater. It perfectly captures that feeling of late-night isolation, the world muted and distant. The production is the confession. It mirrors Drake's emotional state, submerged, intoxicated, disconnected. The space in the mix, the lack of clutter, emphasizes the loneliness. The dial tone samples woven subtly underneath remind us constantly, this is a call, a message struggling to connect. Then there's Drake's performance. His voice isn't polished, it slurs slightly. It cracks with emotion, then shifts abruptly to passive aggression. It's uncomfortable to listen to because it feels too real. We're not listening to a performer, we're eavesdropping on a breakdown. And hidden within that raw delivery is the truth Drake might not have even consciously intended to reveal. His addiction isn't just to substances hinted at in the lyrics, but to the idea of a consuming dramatic love, coupled with a deep-seated terror of actual stable intimacy. You the effing best, you the effing best, you the effing best. That repetition isn't romantic, it's desperate. It's an incantation, trying to conjure a feeling that's already gone. He's praising her, yes, but it feels like he's really trying to convince himself that this level of intensity is the only love worth having, even as he systematically destroys it. The most painful part of Marvin's room isn't that he misses her. It's the dawning realization, audible in his voice and echoed by the desolate beat, that he misses the person he was when he was capable of the kind of love he's now sabotaging. He misses the potential for something real, something fame hadn't yet complicated. Part 5. The Truth That Still Haunts Us. Marvin's Room wasn't just a hit single, it was a fault line. It marked a definitive shift in Drake's artistic persona and lyrical themes. Before Marvin's Room, Drake was the confident up-and-comer, rapping about success, ambition, and fleeting romances. After Marvin's Room, the melancholy, the regret, the self-sabotage became central pillars of his music. Think about tracks like From Time, Jaded, Fire and Desire, Feel No Ways. They all carry echoes of that late-night call, the inability to commit, the possessiveness over past lovers, the constant looking back. Marvin's Room is the patient zero of Drake's sad boy era. It's the moment the mask slipped, revealing a profound vulnerability, yes, but also a toxic pattern of behavior he'd spend the next decade exploring, lamenting, and sometimes even glorifying. It resonated because it tapped into something universally understood: the messy, irrational pain of heartbreak and the destructive things we do when we feel alone. We memed it. We played it on repeat. We felt seen by its raw honesty. But maybe the ultimate twist, the confession hidden in plain sight, is this. Drake wasn't just mourning the loss of her. He was mourning the loss of the version of himself that existed with her, before the fame, before the isolation of superstardom. The Aubrey Graham who maybe, just maybe, could have had a simpler, cleaner love story. I'm just saying you could do better. When you hear that line now after all this unpacking, maybe he wasn't just talking to her. Maybe in that moment of drunken honesty, staring into the abyss of his own life choices, he was talking to himself. Acknowledging a potential he squandered, a happiness he traded for success, a version of love he could no longer access. And perhaps, judging by the themes that continue to dominate his music over a decade later, he still is. So the next time Marvin's Room shuffles onto your playlist late at night, listen closer. Don't just hear the drunk dial. Hear the echo chamber of fame. Hear the ghost of Marvin Gaye. Hear the uncomfortable truth of a man confessing his deepest flaws, not in a whisper, but on a global stage. Listen for the unraveling, the pauses between the lines, the silence on the other end of the call, because that is where the real story of Marvin's Room lives. Not in the bravado, but in the breakdown. Now I really want to hear from you on this one. Marvin's Room hits different for everyone. What specific lyric or moment in Marvin's Room always stops you in your tracks? Why? Do you think the song is a genuine confession or a calculated performance of vulnerability? Has your perception of Marvin's Room changed over the years? Drop your thoughts, your theories, your chosen lyrics in the comments below. Let's unpack this together. And hey, if this deep dive resonated with you, consider hitting that like button. It genuinely helps us understand what content you connect with. If you know someone who has a complicated relationship with this song, or anyone who's ever felt that late night pull of regret, share this video with them. Maybe it'll spark a conversation or offer a new perspective. Finally, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because our next investigation goes deep into another massive hit with a potentially unsettling core. We're tackling Chris Brown's Under the Influence and asking, is it a smooth R&B jam or something far more obsessive? You won't want to miss Under the Influence, the dark obsession behind the anthem. Thanks for watching. Stay curious.